Hi, this is Stephanie Skinner from Culture Media, and we are here for the next hour to talk about cheese. So first, a couple of notes. If you have questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A button, which should be at the top of your screen or to the right. I will be reviewing questions throughout, and we are going to be saving those to the end unless they are particular to the subject that we're talking about at the moment, and we have an appropriate time to break in. And I am also asking, please, if you have suggestions on pairings, which is something that we are going to cover later on, but if you have explored this on your own with the cheeses that you've received or have tried them in the past and you would like to tell us about some cool pairings, please do so on the chat function. So with no further ado, I am going to introduce Savanna Flood, who is here to take us through this presentation. Savanna is a cheese grater at Schuman, specializing in sample selection and flavor matching. She was born and raised in Wisconsin, and she got her start in cheese working as a monger in the specialty cheese department of her local grocery store. She moved to New Jersey 4 years ago to work for Schuman Cheese, and one of her favorite parts of her job is coming up with beer pairings for the cheeses. And when she's not cutting cheeses, Savanna loves to cook, home brew, and garden. So, Savanna, take it away.
Well, hi there, everybody. Thanks for having me and letting me come and talk to you about cheese today and all the wonderful options. Hopefully that you all have your cheeses out in front of you or at least somewhere close, and that you all were able to get the fun little cheese papers that were inside. There's also some Skittles in there for you too. So let's get started. I have a tiny little PowerPoint just to do. To give you a little background on the company, a little bit about our cheeses and where they're made, and then we can get right into the pairings. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's go. So Schuman Cheese is a fourth generation family company founded in 1945. Originally, the company's name was Arthur Schuman, named after the Arthur Schuman, starting as a New York-based importing business with his sons Jerome and Howard. Arthur Schuman was later named president of the Cheese Importers Association of America, and that's kind of what we started basically as an importing company, bringing cheeses in mostly from Italy. In the 1980s, our current CEO, Neil, was named CEO. And then in the 2000s and 2010s, Keith, Ian, and Allison joined the company as the fourth generation. And there is a fifth generation currently in diapers, so we'll see where the future holds for us. So a little bit about the company and where we're kind of all located. I get kind of asked all the time. It's like, wait, you live in New Jersey, but you work for a Wisconsin cheese company? I say, yes, I do. So our cheesemaking facility is in Turtle Lake, Wisconsin. If you are a Wisconsinite and familiar with the hand gesture, Turtle Lake is up here. It is a 54,000 square foot production facility, and that is where we produce our hard Italian cheeses along with mascarpone and our Alpine line. We also have a line in Fall Creek, Wisconsin, which produces our lovely Darfresh boards and our snacking line. We have a Midwestern headquarters in Elgin, Illinois, which does the bulk of our tray processing, our shred lines, all of the big food service items. And then our corporate headquarters, where I am coming to you from right now, is in Fairfield, New Jersey. And this is where we do kind of all of our marketing. All the samples are generally coming out of here, and we're doing a bit of production as well. So I have a small little video for you just to show you the inside of the facilities. Not too many people get to see them. So about a minute. That's one of the brine tanks. So that's a cool little video about kind of showing you a little bit of the inside of our plants. Not too many people get to see that again, so it's always kind of a little cool to see the behind the scenes of a cheese making facility or a cheese processing plant. Nope. There we go. So this is our Lake Country Dairy facility. We work with 4 local family farms within the area where we get all of our milk from. And then within our Lake Country Dairy facility, we have these lovely copper vat that you can see right on the bottom right and the top left. And those are what give our alpine cheeses and our copper kettle its very unique taste. More trying to get back into the similar roots of Italy and European cheese making. So our cows, happy, lovely grazing out in the dairy lands of Wisconsin. Our head cheesemaker, Christoph, loves to take people out into the fields to meet the cows, and he'll occasionally eat some of the feed that they're feeding them to show it's like, hey, these cows are having the best quality, I'd eat it myself. And Christoph has really worked hard putting his heart and soul really into discovering the terroir of what it means to be making cheese in Lake Country Dairy and exploring the culture program with all the local flora that exists out in Turtle Lake. So for our cheese making today, I've got 3 different cheese tasting. Sorry, I have 3 different cheeses for you to try. So we're gonna start off with the Copper Kettle Parmesan. It is a hard domestic cheese cooked in copper vats, and it's aged for 16 months. This is a little bit older than your standard Parmesan. They generally age out around 12. This is for 16 before we put it out on the shelves. This has a lot of deep caramel notes, a little bit of copper in there that you're getting from the copper vat, a little bit of crushed pineapple in there as well, very sweet. And you'll notice it has this beautiful orangey pink color to it, which really helps it pop when you put it on a cheese board or any type of usage that you're going to go with it. And it gives, if you're using it in somewhere where you might be using Parmesan, it gives an added note to any type of pasta you're making with it. Mac and cheese, it goes in really well as well. The second cheese you would try would be the Yellow Door Creamery Altu. This is inspired by Gruyere. It is aged for 180 days, and this one is also made in a copper vat. And then we are also, this is more of an homage to Christoph's cheesemaking history. He grew up in the Alps, and that was one of the first cheeses he ever started making. So when we started doing alpine cheeses, it really made a lot of folks happy, including myself and Christoph, and it's one of my particular favorites. And then the last cheese what we're going to do is the pumpkin spice rubbed Fontal. It is a smooth, creamy, mild cheese, fantastic melter, nice little hint of acidity to it. And there is going to be covered in a pumpkin spice mix, a little bit of honey note in there, cinnamon, pumpkin. And this is going to go really well. Again, cheese boards looks great on that. It goes really well on a mac and cheese as well. If you're going for kind of a weird, funky mac and cheese, grilled cheese, if you put it on cinnamon raisin toast, is also another fun manner that you can go for it. So we're going to get into some fun cheese tastings. So I have a bunch of cheese in front of me here, and I also have a bunch of different flavors to go with them. So I'm going to point the camera more down towards this. There we go. So you can all see what I've got going on here. And I have a little game to play with you. So I have a spinning wheel. It is a trick or treat, choose your own adventure game. So I have some standard pairings. I have some not so standard pairings. And I have some cold alcoholic beverages, and I have some hot non-alcoholic beverages. So I am going to spin the wheel, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to get into. All right, that is on a 6. So 6, conventional pairing. So let me try out the Altu with the lingonberry jam. I like the nice little bit of acidity there that it gives a little bit of tartness to it as well, playing off with the creaminess of the Altu and like just a little bit of the funk. So kind of reminiscent of Thanksgiving almost. And if we're also going to do another conventional pairing with this, the copper kettle also goes very well with blueberry jam. This I like, again, a little bit of that sweeter pairing to go with it. It's almost reminds me of pie a bit, going into more of the caramel notes within that, but the fruit notes and the blueberry pair really well together. And this jam has a little bit of a nice touch of lemon to it. So that's also gonna go very nicely with this. So we have another choose your own adventure. What did it land on? A 1. Well, in the Dungeons and Dragons world, that is a critical failure. And so that means we're going to try some very, very weird cheese pairings right now. So the oddest one I think I have that is surprisingly very good is the Altu. And what I have right here is white miso paste. So I'm going to smear a little bit of that on. Miso is, this is a fermented soybean product. Generally, most people think of it in miso soups. This is also very good for marinades. But it actually tastes very good by itself, and there are different forms of miso. This is a white miso, so it's a little lighter, a little sweeter. And for that one, I'm getting a lot of the more funky notes that's really popping out from the Altu, going well with the miso. Now, I'm sure all of you get your Skittles ready because we're going to do this one together. So this is the Skittles and Copper Kettle. So you all can do a fun Halloween weird pairing yourself. This one is actually told to me by a dear friend of mine, and it kind of blew my mind the first time I tried it. So again, you've got the fruit notes going on here. You have the caramel notes going on here. It's a little bit of a flavor exposure in your mouth. Then I just saw a chat pop up. It's like, I thought the Skittles were a mistake when I received the package. No, that is entirely intentional, my friend. Give that a go. It is a delight. So I have a couple different Halloween candies on here too, if you'd like to give those. If you're having, you know, just buying trick-or-treating candy for yourself, maybe there's a couple kids stopping by. But Altu and Twix is a heavenly combination, let me tell you. I almost ate a block of Altu last night with the Twix. Another really good one is Reese's Pieces with the pumpkin spice Fontal. Kind of a taste that you might think would go together. But maybe not too many people think about pairing cheese with chocolate. So I'll point you back up to here. And I don't know if there's any questions, or I'll take a peek at the chat. I think I can do that and see kind of some ideas and what people were thinking of. Ooh, chocolate covered figs. Yes, I love that. That's a delicious, delicious pairing. Hopefully I'll be able to find some. Now, if you have any questions or want to chat or anything like that, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I also have some fun drinks too. So if you are bringing a drink to your cheese happy hour, please do enjoy. I have some apple cider here, which I'm going to enjoy with a nice piece of copper kettle.
I'll ask, so why is Yellow Door called Yellow Door?
That's actually a really good question for my friend Lauren over here, who is sitting behind the camera.
Hi. So sadly, there is not a fun story to that. It mostly is just marketing. So there's nothing even like remotely romantic about it or anything like that. We did paint one of the doors yellow after naming it on one of the barns where some of the milk comes from. So there is that. So we kind of like made the name and then also made it real.
What does a cheese grater do?
That's an excellent question. So when I tell people what I do as a job, I give people saying, "Oh, cheese grater," like
Right.
But what I do is I go into the warehouse and into our aging facilities, and with my boss and our grading team, we look at all the different cheeses as they are aging out in cure, and we determine what the usage is for those. So if the cheese is developing really well and we think it's going to have a lot of flavor, that gets picked for a retail program. If something's not going as much as we'd like it to go, we'll give it a little time, see where it's at in a couple months, and then reevaluate it. There's always a home for cheese. It's not just it's always the best of the best that's going into the retail program, but there are homes for the ones that, you know, are a little sad, a little lagging. My day to day actually is currently, I am the sample mistress. So I am cutting a bunch of cheeses. I put them in box. I cut and wrapped and sent all the cheeses you all received. So that's my day to day, is preparing samples for our salespeople and making sure cheese gets where it needs to go.
And how do you become a cheese grater?
So in general, in terms, if you are a licensed grater, there are different graders in terms of if you are a USDA grater or a Wisconsin grater, that is a certification and that there is a test. And in order to be considered a grater for those different cheeses, you have to pass those exams. For me, Parmesan, which is what I primarily grade in hard Italian, is not, it doesn't have a grading test assigned to it. So you do not have to have any sort of fancy licensure to grade Parmesan. For me, I, being a cheesemonger, grew up very familiar with cheese, working with cheese. I found my job at 2 o'clock in the morning on the American Cheese Society website, and fresh out of college thinking to myself, well, I could move to New Jersey, and I've been here for 4 years.
Okay, we've got a couple of other questions. So Erica from Texas is asking, why did the company choose to make vegan cheese, which I'm not sure we've discussed here, any vegan cheeses?
Hi, this is Lauren again. I exist, or Savannah's just a ventriloquist. In terms of a vegan, we just saw the trends and just sort of the way things are going in terms of the market and just some other things that have come up. And so we found that people who eat vegan cheese have trouble with the performance of it. It just doesn't perform or taste like our delicious dairy cheeses. So because we do know the science behind that and have really worked very hard to create a high quality dairy cheese, we applied the same sort of knowledge and winning sort of things that make our cheeses the best, and we applied that to vegan cheeses, and that's how we came up with our new brand of Vegan. But that does not mean that we are not all still all in on the dairy cheeses as well. But that is a super good question.
Mm-hmm. I figured who better to make a vegan cheese than cheesemakers?
Actually, this is a question for the participants. Are you all getting asked a lot about vegan cheese? More so now, or is it tapering off? Just post your questions post your answers on chat. We also have a question on What is the origin of the copper kettle process is the question that came in.
So the copper kettle process, in terms of where we're basing our cheeses off, is from the Italian style cheese makings of Parmigiano Reggiano. That is all made in a copper vat, and the Alpine style cheeses are also made in the copper vat as well. And we wanted to get as close as we possibly could into making the best quality product, as similar as we could to Parmigiano Reggiano. You're never going to quite be able to beat the king, but having a copper kettle really helps.
Yeah. So someone's asking, what is the funkiest, and I think we've already seen some funky ones, but what is the funkiest cheese or accoutrement pairing that you've come up with?
I have done some really weird ones in my time. I actually did a cheese and tea pairing internally for the company, just because generally, like, I do a cheese education class once a month, and I had a lot of interest in people saying, it's like, oh, we'd love to do like a cheese and beer pairing or a cheese and wine pairing. It's like, well, it's 11 o'clock on a weekday, and I can't really be busting out the strong beers for that one. So let's do some cheese and tea pairings. And I found that oolong tea and manchego is delicious together. I'm a big fan of that.
You're definitely getting a lot of questions about the funkiness of the pairing. So someone's asking whether or not they can get a list of all of these
Oh
pairings.
yes, of course. I will
Yeah.
definitely send you guys a list of all of my pairings as well. And I've got a couple of beers back there. And Lauren, if you want to grab my one that's in the fridge, not in the fridge, in the sink. So I bought this beer at the grocery store today because I thought it was fun. I'm not an IPA person normally, but this I thought was pretty neat, with pineapple and toasted coconut. And I've been trying that with the copper kettle a little bit. And again, you're getting a lot of the hop note from it, which kind of covers up a lot of the what's supposed to be pineapple and toasted coconut in there. So I'm not picking that up as much. But in terms of with the copper kettle, it's not bad. Again, IPAs aren't really my thing. So I'm not in generally the wherewithal to judge them. What I did generally bring is this, which is a pineapple hard cider from New York. And now this one is on the exact opposite spectrum of that. This is incredibly sweet. I can only drink like a little bit of this because it is such a sugar bomb. But I think I like that better with the copper kettle. I also have a breakfast stout. And for me, again, you think about beer and you think about all like the nice dark roasty toasty notes, and you see a lot of those notes in beer as well in terms of pumpkin spice. So I didn't want to go with the pumpkin spice beer or any of the pumpkin beers because that might be too much. But I think a nice stout would go very, very well with this. That's like a little breakfast treat.
Do you think this is from Terrence? Do you think beer is more interesting to pair with cheese than wine?
I do myself. I do enjoy wine, but I don't have any amount of knowledge of wine, truthfully. If you were to ask me about it, I'd be like, I like the white kind and the red and the kind that comes in the box. So I'm not really the wine expert. So I find that, sure, there's probably like, I think that wine is more generally paired with cheese, and you always think about wine and cheese. It's like, well, but I like beer. Let's go with that. And because you can find a lot of similar fun flavor profiles and beer to cheese, that I think would be it's a lot of fun. And I don't know much about wine, but I think that beer has a lot more varietals, and there's more and more coming out and more experimentation being done with what types of beer that you can make. I saw a ham and cheese beer in the grocery store the other day, and I was a little skeeved out by that. But if that's your thing, that's your thing.
So Carrie is asking the age-old question, the question that I think everyone thinks about a lot, which is when pairing cheese with other items, do you start with the cheese or the beer / tea / candy, etc.?
That's a really good question. I think it is up to, there is a certain amount of science to it, and I've heard different perspectives on which you should try first. I always like to try a little bit of the cheese first, and then with whatever I'm pairing it with. And then I like to try them both together if I can. So just put a little bit of, in this case, maple syrup on top of the pumpkin spice. Because then I think it just is all very nicely melting in your mouth together. But I like to get a good idea of what the cheese is about first before I go throwing anything else in with it.
So when you're making beer, what kind of beer do you usually make?
I generally like to make Belgian styles, German styles. I do a sour, and I like to do fruit beers more. I actually brought one of my home brewing beers with me. So this is a black pale ale. So it's a kind of a contradiction in terms. I've seen it called Cascadian pale ale, but basically it's a pale ale, but you're just using a darker malt with it, giving it that a very, kind of hard to see, but it's a dark beer.
It is a dark, yeah.
It's a dark beer, but more of that kind of lighter, hoppy note that you find in a pale ale. Mm-hmm. And there's a little bit of smoked malt in there too, which I think goes very, very well with a nice little hot bite.
So Rob would like to know if the Cello Pumpkin Spice Fontina is a one-time seasonal or if it's going to be a regular. And that's it. That's the question. Sorry.
It is going to be a continuous seasonal flavor. So this isn't the only time that it will appear, but it will appear around the August time frame every year. It's been like flying off the shelves, and it is my personal favorite. I accidentally may take home a wedge today.
Yeah, that's currently, in terms of sample, that's really all I've been sending for a solid 2 months.
So do you guys want to talk a little bit about how some of the cheeses are made? You did go over the copper kettle stuff, but we'd love to hear a little bit about the actual making process too.
For sure. So the copper kettle, again, cooked in a copper kettle vat, generally going into more of the, trying to find within the culture program, all the notes that are very similar to Parm Reg and Grana to go into that. And these are pressed wheels as opposed to a block. So you are taking the curds, you are putting them into a wheel format, and you are putting them into a brine tank in this case. And they are going to sit in the brine tank, be taken out, shelf cure for a little bit, then they are going to go into the grading warehouses where they come to me to be evaluated. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want me to go into the full, I figure there's a lot of cheese folk in here who've all heard how cheese is made, and like, I could get into that, but it's a kind of the same old story, you know, milk, rennet, salt, cultures, all having a good old time.
So tell us a little bit about the Fontina.
So the Fontina, this is actually, it's kind of hard to, you can probably tell from the wedges you all received. If you are looking at it, it is a very flat wheel. So that way you get the most amount of rub to cheese on the surface. These are all hand rubbed, very carefully, lovingly tended to. We have all sorts of different flavors and rubs that can go onto them. And it's actually, when you look at the different sizes of the Fontal wheels we have, the Fontal wheels for the rubbed Fontals are specially made to have that smaller size. Otherwise, they're made in a 20-pound wheel form, or they can be a smaller 10-pound as well.
So do they have larger curd? Are the curds cut larger? How is it so meltable?
In that one, it's the fat content that's within the Fontal that's really helping that melt.
Okay. And then the Altu, you want to tell us a little bit about how that's made too?
Yeah, so the Altu is again made in a copper vat similar to the copper kettle. And I figure I should clarify because I have two copper made cheeses here that we don't make all of our cheese in a copper vat. That would be great. But generally not really what you're looking for in something like a Fontal that's made in a stainless steel vat. So the Altu is made into a copper vat. And then that is also wheel formed, brined, taken out, and this is rubbed on the outside with the smear coating bacteria that is quintessentially characteristic of Alpine cheeses. So hopefully you guys didn't get too much of a stink from it when you opened it up. We'd take very good care of them to make sure that they're not like oozing all over the place. Because nobody, as much as like it's like cheese people know, it's like, oh, this is all good stuff. But sometimes the customers will be like, ew, what's on this wheel? And you just have to say it's all the cheese flowers, just growing in their natural habitat.
Exactly. So let's see if we have any other questions coming in. Someone's asking about your favorite local brewery, but I'm not sure that you can, if you want to name a brewery, please feel free.
Oh yeah, for sure. In terms of local to New Jersey, I really enjoy, it's more, not less of a brewery, but more of a cidery. I really enjoy Ironbound cider. They're down in Ashbury, New Jersey, not Ashbury Park. And then I also really do enjoy Ramstein Brewing in Butler. We could get into the Wisconsin ones, but I'd be listing breweries left and right.
Let's see if there's
we are in a peak brewing renaissance right now.
Particularly on the cider side, I would say cider is really
finding its niche because so many people are trying to avoid gluten. Cider has really become a good option for a lot of folk. I'm a big fan of cider myself.
Yep. I'm just looking quickly to see. Yeah, so did you do a pairing with the chocolate? If someone's asking about the chocolate.
Oh yeah, I've got a Twix and Altu, which is my favorite. That is definitely my go-to. The pumpkin spice Fontal with the Reese's peanut butter cup. Or you could do it with an Almond Joy if you're me, because apparently not everybody likes Almond Joy, and that's their prerogative. But I think they're delightful, and I really love the nice little coconut pairing with the pumpkin rub on there, and that slight little bit of acidity that you're getting from the Fontal wheel. And again, if you're not picking up all the same notes in terms of the cheese or everything like that, everybody's palate is different, and then every wheel is different too. I know I cut about 4 different pumpkin spice wheels, and so there is the potential for a little bit of difference in between all of them.
Someone's, and I'm not sure if this is something you're comfortable answering, but someone's asking about what is the science behind copper versus steel in the make process.
In the make process, so to very, very generalize, copper is a little bit more conductive, I find. You're going to get a little bit more even heating within the copper. And then you also, there is a certain amount of copper ions that are coming off of the copper kettle as well. And that is kind of leaching into, maybe not leaching, that's kind of a scary word. The copper ions are flowing into the cheese, kind of giving those nice coppery note into the cheese itself. And there's something to be said about tradition as well, with copper being the most available vat making material back in the day. It's kind of going back into the tradition of cheese making.
So why, I mean, obviously there's lots of good reasons, but why did Arthur Schuman start with importing Italian cheeses as opposed to other types of cheeses?
We had the connections. We were very good, the Schumans were very good friends with the Zanetti family, and we still hold that familial partnership to this day, where it is just like, there is this opportunity, especially after the war, and in 1945, trying to bring in hard Italian cheese was going to be a bit of a problem. So we were able to have that connection and start bringing in cheeses. And especially New Jersey, it is a very high Italian American population, so everybody wants the good stuff.
Right, it's true in Boston as well. So interesting. Yep, go ahead.
And we also we're hard Italian and Italian cheeses were where we got our start. We also import from Belgium, we import from Greece, we import from Switzerland, Germany, South America as well. We bring in a couple South American Parmesans as well.
So what percentage of your business is in making versus importing? You don't have to give me a specific. I'm just wondering generally.
In general,
I stumped her. How about that?
70, Lauren is giving me the hand signs. 70-30.
70 on the importing or 70 on the make?
70 on the make.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
In terms of volume.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I figured I'd show this off while we're writing. This is a red pickled ginger, and kind of as the challenge for the trick or treat, choose your own adventure. I'm challenging you all to go and find something weird in your fridge and try that out.
Yeah, let's have the craziest. What do you guys think? What are some of the craziest things you guys have ever?
Go to your fridge right now. Do you have leftover salsa that's been in there for like a couple months? Maybe don't eat that, but if you've got if you're like me who just collects tons and tons and tons of condiments, or maybe you have a sauce that you used for one time and you still have that sitting around, maybe that might be good.
Well, I'll say I did a little smoked oyster with the Altu. Yeah. I'm a tinned fish fan, so.
See, I've been trying to get into tinned fish, and I just feel very intimidated by it. I would love to try it, more of it, but again, just hopefully trying to get the good stuff is a little bit hard.
Yeah, we have aged Gouda and dark rum suggestion from Carrie. Dark rum, my husband is a rum drinker, and so we try a lot of stuff with dark rum. I think it's very overpowering unless you're careful.
And I have a mustard. Also, mustard is also a very fun thing to try. I have that on the pumpkin spice, and this is actually a curry mustard.
Wow.
There's a lot of flavor there.
Explosion. So what did you put the miso with again?
With the Altu.
With the Altu. Okay, I'll try that. I've got some miso hanging around.
Yeah, it came to me like in the middle of the night where I was trying to think of different fun pairings. I was like, well, what do I have in my fridge? I was like, what about the miso and the Altu? That could be really good. Ooh, sweet peppers.
Yes, definitely. Salsa was a hit. Have you ever tried any cooking particularly with the pumpkin spice one?
So the pumpkin spice, I generally have just been eating it straight up recently. I tell people all the time I eat cheese professionally for a living. And so they're like, oh my gosh, you must bring so much cheese home. It's like, well, when you look at it all the time, sometimes it can be a little bit much to bring it home, especially when you have a boyfriend who doesn't like cheese.
That's a reason to get rid of someone. That's all.
Yeah. I've been working really hard on him. He does Fontal. He has his limits. But the Fontal is in. So for me, I would really love to do this on a grilled cheese with cinnamon raisin toast and a little fig jam and apples.
Ooh, Romanesco sauce with the Altu was just suggested. I happen to have some of that. I'm going to try that. Yeah, so that actually interesting. Let's translate these. This is a really good idea because I always think about, we all of us as cheeseheads are really happy to throw down anything in terms of, pairing things, but translate these pairings into dishes that folks would regularly eat. And I think one of the things I was struck by with the the pumpkin spice is that it has some sandwich qualities. I can't decide what would go. I haven't really sort of figured out what I would put with it yet, but I would lay it on me, guys.
Yeah, the pumpkin spice, it is a fantastic melter. Anytime you're going to want to put something in a grilled cheese, on a mac and cheese, that would be your guy. So for me, with the pumpkin spice.
Yeah. So yeah, Michael's suggesting rye bread. That's yes. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Like a little bit of turkey, I think would be like a turkey sandwich.
Yeah, because you've got that Thanksgiving thing going on already.
Yeah, with the pumpkin spice, you got a little bit of the turkey in there.
Yeah, maybe you could do like a turkey stuffing, pumpkin spice, a little smear of cranberries, and you're off to the races.
Oh, you guys are making me so hungry right now. It's a good
Me
thing
too.
I have all this cheese in front of me. Tea is also very good with beverages as cheeses as well.
So Carrie has just suggested a brilliant thing. Pumpkin spice to ramp up a squash ravioli in brown butter sage sauce. Yes, again, channeling that Thanksgiving vibe.
Yes.
Someone's going to shred it on a brat all too. Yep.
I love a good bratwurst.
Yeah.
Now I'm just kind of mixing and matching things that I find.
That's the glory of it. That's the best part of it, right? So Rob suggests a morel or a stronger flavored mushroom would go good with the pumpkin spice. Yeah, so do you make a more intense cello?
This is currently in terms of intensity. The copper kettle is our most in terms of aging. That would be our highest age. Our domestic Asiago is very nice. Definitely not in terms of what people would think of in terms of a domestic Asiago. It doesn't have any lipase in it, so you're getting more close to real Italian Asiago as close as you can in the domestic market. Which I find that one has a little bit, while the copper kettle goes a little bit more smoother, caramely sweeter, the Asiago does have a nice little acidic kick to it that I think shows very nicely. A little bit more intense, but different.
Sorry, I'm flipping through looking to see the other questions as they're coming in. Lots of pairing suggestions. I love that.
Ooh, berry lavender confiture. Ooh. I'll see them pop up every now and again, and it's just giving me all sorts of ideas.
I think we're going to all have to do this again on Thanksgiving and see what we're eating together. Yeah. How's that?
Oh, definitely. Please send me all of your cheese pairings because I want to go and buy out my whole grocery store. Also, I made this coffee for this exact thing, and I haven't even touched it yet, and I was so excited to drink it. But coffee, pumpkin spice, get your pumpkin spice latte all in one go. This is black too. You don't even need any milk.
Do any of the copper kettle, you send it out at 16 months. Does it ever go any longer than that?
Oh, it definitely does. 16 months is the minimum. I have seen copper kettle ranging from 2 years. 2 years. I've seen it at 5 years. I've seen it at 10 years.
Wow.
Not generally in the marketplace or anything like that, but every now and again something will come across my desk and it'll just be like, where did this come from? Like, I think it got lost in the warehouse. Like, mine now.
Let's see. Let's check them. Root vegetable tart with pumpkin spice. Everybody wants to pair the pumpkin spice. It's so fascinating.
See, and I'm so glad that people have more ideas than I do, just because I kind of do get stuck in a rut a little bit with the nice meltability of the cheese. And I generally want to go sweeter with it. But I know that I sent a bunch of cheese to cooks and chefs, and I'm so excited that you all have these great ideas. Just giving me ideas for dinner too.
So this is a question for the participants again, for you mongers out there. Are you envisioning this is going to be a season where if you're in charge of entertaining plates and stuff, that they're going to be smaller? And if so, what do you have plans on that kind of stuff or thoughts around that? While you're thinking about the craziest pairings in the entire world. I can't believe there's no gummy bears on your. I mean, where are the gummy?
See, the gummy bears I think would be kind of in the same vein as the Skittles in terms of the copper kettle. I think that would go really nicely. Now, what would go best with the sweet peach rings? Maybe the L2. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's my particular favorite gummy candy.
So do you all have any questions about make or about anything else regarding this sort of, overall how this all happens?
Yeah, definitely. If you have any questions about make or the aging process or the grading process or the sampling process, or want to pick my brain about anything, I'll answer your questions as best as I can.
Let's see, hold on. Yeah, it sounds like people are thinking about shipping cheese to people. I think that's a big thing these days, sending cheese as opposed to showing up and bringing the cheese. All right. Any other crazy suggestions or thoughts? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's all good. My biggest suggestion for shipping cheese is ice packs, ice packs, ice packs. And admittedly, in the wintertime, you don't need as many as you're trying to ship in the wintertime because it is colder, but you just want to make sure that you're accounting for where UPS or USPS or FedEx is holding it. So better to be safe than sorry in terms of the amount of ice that you're putting into and where you're sending it. And in terms of if you're going to send cheese, it's pricier, but next day air is the way to go. You just really don't want to take any chances with it going ground unless it's like just up the street, then sure, go for it. Or like in a tri-state area, but generally next day air, you don't want to mess with cheese that has been floating around a cooler out of refrigeration for a while, and you don't want your recipients to have to deal with that either.
You only do cow's milk cheese?
We do currently in terms of our make, we are only doing cow's milk cheese. We import a bunch of sheep and goat's milk cheeses, but in terms of production, we are only doing cow's milk. And only pasteurized as well.
Okay. Somebody wants to know, and this is near and dear to my heart, being one of the founders of the movement, whether any of your cheeses are featured in Victory cheese boxes. Do you know?
I don't think we are yet. I would love, that would be great if we could get in on that. But I would definitely, I don't think we're in the Victory cheese boxes yet. I've been meaning to order one. I've been meaning to order a lot of them.
But there are some Wisconsin ones, so that would be good. Yes. So someone's asking again if you could talk a little bit more about the farms and the cows that provide the milk for your cheeses.
Sure. So it is for local family farms in terms of where we're getting all of our milk from. We have a very, very good relationship with them. One of the head of the facility, Gary, he is a farmer himself. And so he makes sure that all of our farmers are very well taken care of, that their needs are being met, that we have that dynamic within the community, because Turtle Lake is very, very small. And so a lot of the farmers there, that is where they're sending their milk to. It is part of a larger dairy cooperative, but we really want to ensure that we have that good dynamic with our farmers.
So do you buy all of the milk from them or,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So you buy, so guarantee, okay, that's nice for the farmers to know that all their, that's great. Let's see
And
what
we
else.
always make sure at Christmas time that we send them a big box of all the different cheeses, just to show it's like, here's all the products that your milk is going into.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun for me too, because I get to be the one to send that out. So make little cards and put all the cheeses together. So it's something really very cool and nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I feel like we're coming, I think we've run through the questions unless someone else has something terribly important that they want to ask. Nope, I think that's good. So we can wrap it up if you guys are ready. Any other comments? Please feel free, Savannah, to
Yeah, and if any of you have any questions or you feel like I could answer a question better, shoot me an email. I'm sure Stephanie or Bill could get you a hold of my email, or I could say it right now. It's sflood@schumancheese.com. And you can send me your questions, your queries, your hate mail. Hopefully not too much of that. I am very sensitive. But I would love to take any of your questions, and I would definitely be able to actually do more research and get numbers for you too, and I would love to do that for you.
Okay. So just one other quick question. I think it's everywhere. The answer is everywhere, but where are your cheeses shipped to? So
in terms of shipping or in terms of distribution, or?
I guess the answer could be both of those things.
In terms of shipping, in terms of if you're looking for samples, I can ship cheese anywhere in the greater United States. I think I can also ship to Hawaii and Alaska.
I'll hand deliver.
Yeah. Canada is a little hard to get cheese into, but I know how to ship cheese there. And we have all sorts of ways to get you samples of whatever you like.
Great. And so you are distributed nationwide?
Nationwide, yes.
Cool. Okay. Fabulous.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for having me and letting me talk and eat cheese in front of you and talk about beers and candy. It's definitely a very fun part of my day right now. It's kind of breaking up the routine a little bit.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. And yes, everybody's thanking you for a lovely hour.
Oh,
I agree.
Thank you.
Now I'm ready to go stuff some cheese in my mouth.
Enjoy. Happy Halloween.
Yeah. You too. Bye.